I'm on day 18 of my second 100-day project. I only made it to day 61 of my first 100-day project. But I'm more confident I'm going to finish this time because I learned from my past mistakes and I planned a better project. And that's what I want to talk about today. 7 things I wish I knew before starting a 100-day project. If you want to do a 100-day project, but it sounds overwhelming or you're not even sure what to do for your project, I hope these tips help. If you've struggled to develop a consistent creative practice, a 100-day project might be the kickstart you need. For my new 100-day project, I'm doing 100 days of mark-making patterns in the scrappy art journals I made in my last video. I'm sharing my mark-making patterns daily on Instagram. The first thing I wish I knew before starting a 100-day project is it doesn't have to be a daily project and you don't have to create 100 things. The original premise of the 100-day project was to develop creative discipline by doing the same creative activity for 100 days straight. But it was an assignment for college students where they presented at the end of the 100 days. There really are no rules for the 100-day project, so you can set up a structure for your project that works best for you. There is an official start date for the 100-day project every year if you want to do it at the same time as a bunch of other people, but you can also start your project whenever is best for you. One of the reasons my first project failed is because the official dates extended beyond the end of the school year, which always gets really busy for me. So for this project, I decided to start on January 20th so I could finish by April 30th, which is before the end of the school year. You can also set up your own schedule for the course of the 100 days. You don't have to do something every day. I tried the daily approach for my first project and I failed. So for this project, I am doing batching. Instead of making 1 page of marks each day, I'm doing 3 to 5 pages of marks in one sitting. It actually works better with my creative process, and because I'm sharing my project on Instagram, it helps me to batch the filming process as well. On that note, the second thing I wish I knew before starting a 100-day project is that sharing is optional and a lot of extra work. If you want to share your project on social media, you can use the hashtag #the100dayproject, or you can just check out that hashtag and see what other people are doing for their projects. But if you're going to share on social media, you need to treat it like a second project because it really is like doing a second 100-day project. Sometimes it takes me longer to edit and share something than it did to create it. If you're planning to use social media to share your project, you want to simplify as much as possible. You should also keep in mind that there are other great ways to hold yourself accountable during your project. You could mark days on a calendar or keep a tracker for your project. You could also do something with a buddy where you share with each other for accountability. Or maybe if you're making small art pieces, you could hang them up on the wall. You don't have to share your project publicly. The third thing I wish I knew before I started a 100-day project is to keep it simple and specific. This was my biggest mistake with my first project, which was 100 days of collage process. The theme of collage process was way too open-ended. And at first, I thought that was a good idea because I could make and share anything related to collage. But as I got further into my project, I struggled with having a lack of direction, and it honestly made it easier to quit my project. For my new project, I'm doing 100 days of mark-making patterns. Now, mark-making patterns is already pretty specific, but I am also working in journals that I made specifically for this project. So I have my work cut out for me. I know what I am making throughout the course of the project. When you choose a specific project, you also force yourself to go deeper into that topic and fully explore it. So you really want to make sure that you pick something that you're really interested in or that you want to practice a lot. The fourth thing I wish I knew before starting a 100-day project is you make up the rules. There are no rules for the 100-day project, but you should make up some rules for yourself. Or if you want, you can call them guidelines. Having some limitations and constraints on your project is going to help you be more successful. Some of the rules you might want to come up with is what is the theme of your project? What medium are you going to use? What is the output of your project? Like what exactly are you making? How often are you going to work on it? Are you planning to share it on social media or not? The more guidelines you can give yourself, the more focused you'll be during your project. The fifth thing I wish I knew before starting a 100-day project is to prepare in advance. One of the things I highly recommend is testing out your project idea. So when I had the idea to do mark making patterns, I made 2 different size journals to test out which size and format would work best. If you test out your project and it doesn't seem doable, like you can do it regularly for 100 days, then you can adjust and tweak your project before you start your 100 days. I also think it's a really good idea to set up a workstation if you are able to and to get your supplies ready. For my 100 days of mark making patterns, I made 2 journals specifically for the project. Each journal has 50 pages. They're 4 by 8 inches in size. I shared how I made them in my last video, and these are the only things I'm going to be working in for my project. So I have my journals all ready to go with my mark making supplies. The other thing I think you should get ready in advance is a list of ideas, prompts, or some source of inspiration that you can refer to when you get stuck. If you want to do mark making like me, I have a free mark making prompts list with 30 different shapes you can explore. I'll put the link to that below. The sixth thing I wish I knew before I started a 100-day project is that life will get in the way. You will have mood swings, you will have low energy days, school will get canceled. All of the things that could possibly happen in 100 days will happen during your 100-day project. So you need a contingency plan. You need a way to protect your project from life's interruptions. So some of the things I already mentioned, like keeping your project simple, are going to help you do that because your project is going to be doable. Also, I mentioned batching, which was a lifesaver for me during the winter storm last week when school was canceled for 4 days straight. The other thing that I'm doing in my current project is I'm working in these journals, but I decided I don't have to work in these journals in order from front to back. I don't have to finish one journal before I start on the other journal. I'm allowing myself to hop around, and that allows me to work with the creative energy that I have on any given day. So sometimes I might have a mark making idea and I just look for a page to put it on. And other days I just need to flip through the journals and find a page that inspires me to get started. So think about how you can make your project flexible because the reality is life will get in the way during your project. The other thing I wish I knew before starting a 100-day project is that your project needs to have a purpose. I don't want you to overcomplicate this. Your project should still be simple and specific, but it needs a goal besides do something every day for 100 days or make 100 things. I think you can power through a 14-day or a 21-day challenge just by trying to mark the days off on the calendar, but a 100-day project is completely different. You need a deeper why for why you're doing your project. When I stopped doing my collage project, I didn't see it as a total failure because I had a different purpose for the project. I wanted to build up my collage paper stash, which I did, and I wanted to practice collage regularly, which I did for 61 days straight, and that's awesome. Knowing the why for your project is what is going to get you over the fear of starting something you might not be able to finish, because finishing won't be your primary goal. For my current mark making patterns project, my purpose is to build up my inspiration library for mark making. I've been doing mark making in sketchbooks and handmade journals for years because I find it an incredible source of inspiration. So whether I finish the 100 pages in these journals or whether or not I finish them within the 100 days doesn't really matter, because my purpose is to build my inspiration library, and everything I do in these journals is going to contribute to that. Your purpose is what's going to make your project worth doing, even if you don't finish. But it's also what's going to make you more likely to keep going and make it to the end. If you're planning to do the 100-day project, I'd love to hear about your project in the comments. If you want to join me and do mark making, you can grab the free mark making prompts below and check out my video on 5 things I wish I knew before I started mark making.